We're back again going through the 1952 Topps almost set that I have. This would be number 3 video. We're going to cover, actually this is number 2 video. We're going to be covering 81 to 250 and go through. These are the middle numbers, either the least expensive or valuable cards, but there's some interesting commons that are tough to get, and I'm just going to go through them really quickly and enjoy looking at them and commenting on them. So we'll start with number 81, which is the first number above the low numbers, which are 1 to 80, and we have Vernon Law. This actually has a little bit of extra value to it. It's tough to find in a good condition, and this is a 7. And I like the horizontal cards. This is 82. This is Billy Johnson. It's an 8. This was actually a pretty tough card to find. Centered. Usually the higher grade you get, this is an 8 versus like a 6 or a 7, the better centered you get, but I've seen some pretty bad centered 8s which are near mint. I've seen 6s that were better centered, but the reason why I actually got this card was the centering. There's Vern Stevens. He looks pretty happy. Maybe because I don't know if Boston had won a World Series for a long time, and I know they didn't win one in 1952, but he's pretty happy. People like this card, Kusava. There's always interest in him. It's not that expensive, but if you can get the card, there's definitely a market for him. I know he's a Yankee, but people always ask about that card when it was in my set. This is Ted Gray. I actually got this from a guy that I'm pretty friendly with, so it was sort of a cool person that I email with, so that's the only story behind this card. It wasn't too expensive. A lot of the 8s would sell for, I think the book is $200 for a common 8, which this is definitely a common, but you always feel like you get a good deal if you get it for $150, $140, so this was one of those. Dale Coogan just looks like he's exploding out of the picture. Like he's pitching down south. Here's actually a Hall of Famer. This was an expensive card because it's Bob Feller, one of the Hall of Fame pitchers, and the centering's really good. It's always weird how the yellow bleeds out into the picture. This is a very popular card, especially because of the centering. Here's a card that's not so centered, just a regular common. There's Grasso. I don't know. I could never seem to find this card in a higher grade than a 6.5. He's ready to catch the ball, looks like. He's not wearing a helmet, so don't know if he wants to be trying to catch with the catcher's mitt. They're a little harder to catch with the catcher's mitt. Here's a Hall of Famer. I got this at a Mile High auction, and I like the centering. Mitchell always eluded me, the higher graded one at a reasonable value. The SEMA 8 and the next card, which is Sam Maley, they're both 8s. I don't know why they're number 893 and 94 on the registry. On the set list for Topps, and they're like the same to me. They both have like a 4-letter last name, and they're just one number apart on the set. You always see them together. They're always priced around the same. You'll see though. Here's SEMA, and he's on the same team. They're both with the Senators. I just always see these guys together every time when I would look for these. Ken Holcomb. This is we're at 95 right now. 96. Don't know what that's on his head there. This actually looks like a sticker. Centering is always hard on this card. This guy's ready to hit. He doesn't have a helmet on. Doesn't really look like he's a right-handed hitter either. Bill Pierce. Here at 99. The yellow backgrounds really shine. This card's a little bit more than a common, but it's not too hard to find. Now we're at 101. Max Lanier. Bill Kennedy. Cliff Mapes. I actually got this card. I was trying to sell somebody a few cards, and he ended up selling me this card. Dan Calloway. As you can see, here's a 105 Promesa. It's an 8. You can look at Calloway. It's an 8, but you can see the label. They changed them. There's 4 or 5 different labels. People are sometimes afraid to buy the older looking labels, but I think it's like $5. You could send it in to PSA, and they'll give you a new label that will look new. The other thing about the old labels is on the back there's always a hologram on the older holders, while the newer holders there's no hologram. Seems like the hologram would be a better way to authenticate it. Why'd they stop? I don't know. Here's Connie Ryan. It's an 8. I got a lot of 8s in these middle numbers because these are much less expensive to get than the low numbers and the high numbers. So all my 8s are pretty much these middle numbers. There's the old label. Let's see if there's a hologram on the back. Oh, there's a hologram on the back. I like this card. I like the coloring of this one. 109. Dutch Leonard. It's a really tough card to get in a 7. There's not a lot of them, but it's still only like $100, $120 to get the next. It's not that hard. 111. Looks like he's got a Peanuts Lowry. Looks like his middle name is Peanuts. Got one. We're at 112. We're going to go up to 250 on this video. Henry Majeski. None of them are as good looking so far as the Dick Williams, right? Yeah. Here's Dick Sisler. I think it's the third Dick card that there's been. The 7.5s in the hobby are always sort of like your redheaded stepchild. Like, you never really bid what the book value is. Nobody really collects 7.5s. Everyone wants there's not enough half points. People like to keep it within the same. It helps you a little bit on the registry, but it's nothing compared to an 8. And so many 7s sell for more than 7.5, so they just really go by the card. I don't think we would. The half point really does anything. Here's the green background that I like. I don't know much about Carl Shee, but as a common, people seem to like this card. It seems to always sell well. Here's another catcher with no, I don't think he's wearing a hard hat. He's wearing his hat backwards possibly, or not. Yeah. He got a C in the front, but it looks, and he's ready to catch the ball. And I think this was a guy trying to pitch him the ball. They're both horizontal and got a long last name. Here's another, I like the green background. Maurice McDermott. Maurice McDermott. Bob Chikolis. This actually was a hard, people have this, even as a common, it's tough to find it centered, and there's always a lot of people interested in bidding, and there's always a market for this common, this 120. Gus Nerhos, here you see it's a 7.5, one of those in-between cards. You don't really need to have that type of grade. I just like it because it looks like nachos. Jack Jensen. This is a pretty tough card to get. It's a little pricey. He's on the Yankees. It's pretty good centering. Eddie Oust. Don't know much about him. I've heard of the name. These three lights or yellow things are on all the cards. I don't know what that is exactly, but I used to always think that was a glare on the computer when I was looking to buy one. But they all had them. We're now going to get the next stage. These are very common. It's a high grade as an 8, but it's these are commons. Like I would not pay the close to book. You should be able to get this in the hundreds, under 100, 150. No, some even commons go over 200, but this is one of the Kennedy cards are pretty easy. Same with the Rigney. This is a really easy card to get. I think around these area of the commons between 81 and 250. The ones in the 120s range, they're pretty easy. Hutchinson, a little harder than the other two, but Minner, that's not too hard. There's a Hall of Famer. He's a little older here at this point. Johnny Mize on the Yankees. It's an 8, so it makes it pretty valuable. It's about $500. Sheldon Jones, very common.